All right, let's do this. Cheers.
Cheers.
What's up, guys? My name is Sean. I'm here with another episode, Shots with Sean. I'm here with Max Woodward, a good long-time friend of mine. We're here at Shek O Beach. If you want to see more of the south side of Hong Kong, I highly recommend coming and visiting this place. So, before we start, we're going to have a shot, if you don't mind, Max.
Yeah,
Let's
jump
do it.
in.
Let's
All
do
good.
it.
Happy to.
For sure. What time is it?
11:17.
All right, let's do this. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.
I haven't had vodka in a while.
Max, for the viewers out there, they probably don't know who you are, so maybe just give like a little bit of an introductory for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's nice to be chatting. Obviously, been pals for a while. I'm a Hong Kong kid. I born and raised here. Went to high school here. Went away for a little bit to study and things like that in the UK. But you know, Hong Kong's always been home to me. I love this place, and I'm just back now. So playing professional rugby here in Hong Kong for Hong Kong. It's pretty much a rough summary of me and my life, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure.
So I want to just start by saying you obviously were always kind of an athlete growing up. When you were younger, you used to play football and rugby at the same time, was it?
Yeah.
So what made you choose rugby and football? Because I see a lot of these younger athletes, they have to choose between football and rugby in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Why did you go through the rugby path?
It's a good question. I mean, I like at school, you know, for as long as I can remember, I was sports mad, you know, like, but football and rugby, we were lucky enough in Hong Kong to not have to really choose massively until late. So I was able to play football and rugby up to the highest standard I could until I was sort of, you know, 18, and I had to go to university. I think, to be honest with you, where the games differ is why I went down the rugby path. Like, I was never the most gifted athlete, but I was pretty diligent and I worked hard in both games, you know, like, and I think rugby kind of allows you to succeed a bit more as a grafter. You know, maybe if you are lacking that natural ability, whereas football is a lot more of a technical sport. You know, the competition is crazy. I feel like to get to the top level or to a high level in football, you know, there's a lot more emphasis based on the skill element, you know, for these gifted athletes and things like that. So, like, for me, the reason why I chose rugby was because I felt that I could succeed at it as a grafter, as someone that just worked hard, and that was kind of like what I based my game around.
Understand. So you currently play in two different setups, is it? Is it the 15s and the 7s?
Sort of, yeah. So we do, well, I guess technically my job is to play 7s, but I can play 15s if I need to play, so the two separate games. But two separate teams that kind of like you represent both, but in the last 3 or 4 years you've kind of focused on one rather than the other.
Okay. I mean, you hear it from every Hong Kong kid, every Hong Kong traveler, the rugby 7s. I've heard it all from fans. What is it like to be, as a player, to play in such a huge, big tournament, watch all over the world? I mean, it's Hong Kong's biggest sporting event.
Yeah, I mean, I've been...
How many years have you played in it now?
Played five times, I think now.
Wow.
4 or 5. I'm not quite sure. I missed a couple through injury. I missed 1 year when I was playing in Japan. So yeah, 4 or 5. But it's just, I mean, as a kid playing sport in Hong Kong, it was always, you know, something that I wanted to do and play in the 7s. And you know, it's funny how you transition from a kid, you know, watching it with your parents, then you transition to being a nuisance and going in all the boxes and getting the softballs, and then being 18 and going to the South Stand, and then now playing, and like that whole thing coming like that whole sort of process is quite good to think about. But it's just for a sport like, we're just so lucky for a sport like rugby, which is not massively popular in Hong Kong, and the fact that we are able to have that event is incredible, like, absolutely incredible. You know, like, we're very, very, very lucky here, like, to be able to, you know, represent the country in that. A lot of other countries don't have that, which is awesome. And it's just cool because people get behind it. Admittedly just for one weekend, but like it's pretty special.
Do you know why that is? Is it because the rugby setup, the funding is done so well? Because I know on the football side of Hong Kong, obviously, it's not like the best setup on grassroots level. Is there a good setup in grassroots level for rugby, or is it just kind of for that 7 setup and the money that's involved in it? I was always curious to know because I never really.
It's a good question. The rugby 7s generates a lot of money, which obviously with funding that allows you the freedom. You're able to spend money on the game, which is great. But one thing in Hong Kong, that mini rugby is massively popular here.
Mini rugby.
Playing numbers of like 6-year-olds to probably about 12-year-olds is really, really big.
Wow, okay.
It's a real popular pastime on Sundays for parents and kids. So there's that, which is super popular, and I think the rugby union does a great job of harnessing that mini rugby sort of community. Then they're obviously lucky enough to have the 7s, so that they can fund the 7s generates all the money for the rugby union. And we're very, very lucky that we have that event, and that money allows money to be spent on the sort of mini stuff, which is good.
Interesting. Yeah, every year when I watch rugby sevens, what I've noticed is like the amount of speed that you guys generate as players is crazy. What's the biggest difference, would you say, between rugby 7s and like 15-a-side? I mean, obviously I said it right now, it's like the speed, the factor of the speed, the game is more open. Would you say that's the biggest thing, or is there more technical ability involved because you have a little bit more time on the ball?
Yeah, I mean, overall the game, you're right, spot on, the game's faster, so that needs to be reflected in who plays. 15s is a lot more technically position specific.
Okay.
So you have like certain players who do certain roles, but in 7s you kind of need everyone to do the same role. You need everyone to be relatively fast. You need everyone to run for 14 minutes. You need everyone to execute harder skills like long passes, tackling other people in bigger space. So it's a lot more. I think it's a lot more tough on the individual skill set. So I think collectively you need more individuals with a higher skill set to play in a 7s side, because the roles are less specific. You need everyone to kind of be the same type of player.
Yeah.
Kind of would be the difference, really.
Yeah, that's actually kind of similar to the soccer 7s in a way. You've got to be ridiculously fit. You have to play your position. You have to be like committed, and obviously technically it has to be there. Because like when you have more space on the ball, I feel sometimes you make more mistakes because there's so much time on the ball.
Yeah.
You need to really be careful. Fitness is a huge thing. So I've known you for a long time, and I've seen you on Instagram, seen you training. What's your training like that's going to help you play the field? Have you changed over time, or do you have like a certain type of training ethos that you follow to help you produce the results in the field?
I think, like, for me, again, back to the start when I sort of said that I was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, I've learned massively in the last 5 or 6 years is to really double down on your strengths as an athlete.
Okay.
Rather than try and improve yourself in every single facet of the game. So rather than trying to get faster, if you're not genetically the quick one, you're not going to be that much quicker. So what I mean is, like, I focus more on my skill set. So my repeatability, can I get fitter? Can I just work for longer? Things like that. And my training has definitely changed in the sense that, like, I think you can be, like, my training ethos is I need to be as strong and as mobile and as fast as I can be at my weight, and then I need to be able to repeat all that again and again and again, so that you're effective for like your whole 14 minutes. And so training wise, I guess my thought process is to concentrate on things that I think I'm good at, and then double that down, and then know my role and things like that.
Yeah, I think most athletes, especially on a semi-pro or amateur level, that's the biggest mistake they make. They think they can like do everything and be good at something, but if they don't hone in on their own skills, they kind of they suffer in that.
Yeah.
Myself included. I always think, oh, I can train boxing, I can do football, I can bodybuild, I can do whatever I can, but I'm never really fine-tuning what I can. And as I grow older, with experience and accumulation of injuries, you start to cut it down. You're like, okay, I'm start to focus on certain things, especially during how the season tails out.
Massively.
So-
It's like what we were chatting to before we sat here about essentialism and
Yeah.
like, you know, within a team environment especially, you probably will have a role, you know, specific that's kind of to your strengths, and it's quite, you know, I think it's important to hone in on that and add value where you are going to add the most value, rather than sort of trying to spread yourself thin across as many areas as possible.
100%. I think it's like, I mean, I always use this correlation. It's like when you go out and you're dating, right? You have the option of meeting so many different girls. But if you actually commit to one, actually sometimes it could be really, really good, you know? So it's like, in that kind of sense, it's like, yeah, it's fun to meet different people. It's fun to try new skills and all that stuff. But, you know, where do you see your true potential? If you can try and sacrifice and put all your energy into that, then I think you can grow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think I've definitely learned that a lot in the last few years, like that essentialism concept, and there is something freeing about commitment to whatever that might be, cause, a person, something like that, you know, and your dating analogy is spot on, and like, you know, I think it's something that we can focus on, because by buying into something wholeheartedly, if you fail, then at least you're giving it a nudge.
Exactly.
You know?
I think people get scared of locking down on something that they like, and they had the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
But we have such a long life, you know. You can always go back to it. You can always try different things, but give it a shot. You know, don't give up too easily. That's what I think.
Literally. Yeah.
So going back to your training, I find it really interesting. Complementing it with your diet. Are you on the carnivore diet now, or is it just this kind of a?
Yeah, I've had a bit of an experiment, you know, like a sort of a training and diet renaissance in the last 2 or 3 years. I've sort of got into this. It seems to me the most successful people in training, you know, and nutrition are the ones sort of advocating the sort of keto carnivore style of diet. You know, that they're not really afraid to try things that are new. So I guess in the last 2 years, I've shifted away from like the sort of standard diet of, you know, chicken breast and broccoli and rice, and to more animal focused. So I would say, like, I experimented probably about a year, that was predominantly only meat. Realized that wasn't probably the best for performance. I think aesthetics is great. But basically shifting now to like where I like to call it like a sort of animal-based diet. So so it would be a carnivore base. So the majority of my calories will come from red meat.
Okay.
And then in and around training, I can fill, if it's heavy training, strength work, or like heavy conditioning work, I can fuel my muscles with extra glycogen, you know, with white rice and oats and things like that. But my sort of theory about it, and why I think it's so good, is you don't actually have to eat that much. Your body becomes a bit more efficient at using fat for fuel, and the volume of food you have to eat is a lot less overall, and you're still maintaining weight.
Wow, interesting.
I feel like, you know, you see it a lot. I mean, you know, you're a trainer as well. You must see it. You know, people are trying to put on weight, just shoveling food, you know, oats and rice by the kilo. And I don't think our bodies are really designed to do that. Found shifting away from that and making fat and red meat the majority of my fuel source, I don't need much of it.
Okay, interesting. So are you saying that your calorie count at the end of the day is less than you expected it to be?
Much less, yeah.
Oh wow. So then it must be better on your gut. Do you think? How's your digestive system feel after kind of like a higher diet?
I think it's as good as it's ever been. You know,
wow,
I don't really have any digestive issues. I know it's super controversial, because it's kind of like you kind of come into this space where it's like macro counting versus the opposite, you know, and that always clashes in the sort of nutrition and training space, right? Like people like disagree a lot with that, and like I guess what I'm saying is I don't know. I think that I'm able to maintain weight while not having to count on my calories all the time, you know, because I'm become a bit more efficient, you know, with sticking to very, very nutrient dense food, very calorie dense food. So maybe I am matching my calories. That's why I'm not losing weight. I don't know, because obviously the density of calories within fat and protein is a lot higher than other macro sources like carbohydrates, things like that.
Understand. So what is Max Woodward's like daily food, if you could say it in a nutshell, like today, or let's say a training day?
Yeah.
What would your daily consist? Like, what exactly are you eating? It doesn't have to be the numbers. Just
Yeah, that's a good. So I'll just be before I was trying to train with very, very limited carbohydrates.
Low carbs, okay.
And I don't think it was success. My experiment didn't work, essentially.
I would imagine so. For me too, but
yeah. So, like if you follow these guys like Paul Saladino, the guys in this carnival diet space who are, they're doctors. They're far more knowledgeable than me. They sort of hypothesize that your body is more effective if it uses ketones as fuel.
Okay.
And that kidney can produce glycogen, so which fuels itself from just protein.
Protein, yeah.
Right? But I don't think it's enough. I think, you look at endurance athletes and things like that, I think they can do it, but short bursts of exercise, fighters, basketball players, rugby players, guys like that, I don't think it's enough.
I agree.
So I would have a bulletproof coffee to start the day. So it'd be grass-fed butter, some MCT oil,
Nice.
some coffee. I would then train and have a steak for lunch and a steak for dinner.
Wow, okay.
And that's it.
That's it.
That was not enough. I was very depleted in training. I would be firing for the first 20 minutes, and as soon as that sort of fuel source is gone, my body's looking for glycogen
stores,
stores, which there's none. And I felt great for the first 20 minutes, and then after a while I would just be zonked.
Yeah.
Now, on a heavy training day, if I'm training say 3 times a day, which is usual for the rugby stuff, would do be bulletproof coffee, same as before. Not everyone's cup of tea, not everyone sort of agrees with that sort of stuff, but I feel like it works for me a little bit. I feel good. Then strength work.
Yeah.
And then big thing of overnight oats.
Okay.
So there's coconut milk, cacao,
Nice.
raspberries, blueberries, a little bit of honey, a little bit of jam, just for some sugars, and then train, and then it'll be just rice and red meat.
Okay.
Train, and then dinner would just be rice and red meat on a training day, and then I try and limit that carbohydrate source on off days as much as I can.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good mix. I also agree with you that I think I've never been an advocate of carbs too, but when you have carbs in my system, I do feel a little bit more. Because with the sports that we play, they require a lot of fast twitch fibers, type 2 muscle fibers. So you need that explosive energy. And I think, as you said, you will start to plateau after the first 20 minutes. You just don't really have that much stores in your body. So I think as this type of sport, I agree that you would probably need it, just on my theory also alone.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think it's it. I feel like, especially if you're talking about general people training or athletes, I'd like to think of carbohydrates as a top up. So you need them to perform that extra little bit, but not as your base fuel source.
Right.
That's what I'm in the mindset in now.
Understand.
Yeah.
So actually, I wanted to talk about how your trip because you recently went to America, was it?
Yeah.
How long were you gone for during that time? Okay, so if the viewers don't actually know, Max went to go travel to the US, and it was during the pandemic, wasn't it?
Kind of, yeah. It was. I think I was one of the only people in the world who was sort of cruising around at that time. It was in September, August, September time.
Nice.
So I went to the US for 3 months, and then sort of navigated my way back to Hong Kong through Sweden.
Okay. Wow.
Because just to avoid hotel quarantines and things like that.
Oh, is that what you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went when I was in the States. I knew the States was on Hong Kong's naughty list, so would be a hotel quarantine rather than a home quarantine. So I flew to Sweden for 2 weeks, met up with my mum, had 2 weeks in Stockholm, and then came back here. And I was able to quarantine on this roof, like basically on this roof, which was a lot easier than the hotel quarantine.
Nice. So where, what states did you travel to in America? Did you have a plan, or you just kind of went with it?
I kind of had a general plan of staying in California, in San Diego, a city that I've been to before, that I know quite well, and I worked at a gym there and trained at a gym there with a guy who I really look up to, who owns a gym, and it was nice just to take some time for myself. But I stayed there pretty much the whole time. Had a little sabbatical in Mexico for a couple of days, which was mega.
Where in Mexico?
Place called like Guadalupe.
Okay.
It's like just over the border from San Diego, and it's like wine country in Mexico. Like kind of, it's in like Baja, like that stretch. My geography's rubbish, but that stretch of land, just over, that's connected to the States.
Okay.
It kind of juts out like a peninsula, and then there's like a few areas there that are cool to visit.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What was your favorite place when you went to America? Because I love America.
Yeah, honestly, like San Diego is brilliant. Like Mexico was mega, cool, but San Diego, just the lifestyle there. I feel like it's not like Hong Kong or LA, where everyone's kind of in the rat race to try and impress everyone else. San Diego, I feel like everyone has just gone there with a sort of general collective idea that they're all just keen to just have a nice life. Live by the ocean. It's very relaxed. It's very low key. It's just great. So that's my favorite place in the States. Admittedly, I've not been to many places, but it's mega.
Was the weather like this? Or?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Banging. I met up with some guys who own like a budgie smuggler company called Noodle Bags.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Budgie Smuggler is actually their competitor, but and hung out with them the whole time, and they were absolutely fantastic.
Okay.
Like really great bunch of guys. But it was really interesting being there, to be honest with you, because it's just kind of amidst this like pandemic type thing, and just people were just cracking on with life as best they could.
Yeah.
Which was good.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the reason why you wanted to travel to America?
My whole career with rugby and stuff was on hold, with all the tournaments being cancelled and things like that, and I just thought, it was the only time I'll have in the next couple of years, given that I'm towards the end of my career, where I can actually take some time away from rugby and training, and just like slow down, have a think about what I want out of life, and spend a lot of time by myself, which was fantastic. So I just wanted to, and it was just a place that I knew, a place that I like, and I kind of like wanted to see. I've not really lived outside of Hong Kong so much,
We used to live in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, I lived in Tokyo for a year, but it's nice to experience. Cause we get it great here. It's very Hong Kong is amazing city, but it's quite sheltered. So it's nice to go out and see other things and like live somewhere, and maybe have if I come back and it makes me appreciate Hong Kong even more, amazing. If I come back and it makes me want to explore anywhere else, then great too. But it was just basically some time away to learn from people that I look up to, training wise, to meet new people, to interact with new people. That's pretty much the reasons of the trip, and I think I got what I wanted out of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think when I heard that, I was like, oh wow, Max is doing this during a pandemic. I think that's really cool. You actually probably, not only me, but many other people probably looked up to you in that sense, that like you took that risk and you're like, yeah, why not? Like now's the time, and not many people would have done that. Back then it was like the pandemic was completely new. People didn't know about it. So obviously like a little bit of a risk, a little bit of a reward for what you were looking for. So that's great.
Yeah, massively. There was a big opportunity cost. I missed out on a lot of stuff in Hong Kong. Like I sort of regret a little bit, but in the end, I think it was a good thing, and it was good, really, really good. It's just there's so much value in like meeting people and learning new things, especially in the fields that you're passionate about. With training, and these guys have like done what I want to do, open gyms and train young athletes and things like that. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think especially now we're at an age where it's all online, and we're like kind of missing out on that, like being in the skid, meeting that person, learning. Like I learned the most when I was on the floor learning from my old boss. My old boss. He taught me so much because like I was in the flesh, learning it. Like anything online is good, you can read out of a book, but when you actually do it and you're meeting the person, I think you absorb so much more.
Yeah, hugely. And
So-
obviously, I was very, very, very fortunate to be in the position where I can afford to travel, and I was able to very gratefully to take some time off my training. So so lucky. And I do express such gratitude for that. But yeah, like you said, we're losing that.
That touch a little bit, right?
Yeah, we're losing. People are scared of each other.
Yes.
Everyone's wearing masks. No one's congregating. It's nice to just go out and do stuff.
Yeah, it's a weird thing how the mindset has developed over the past year, and how people have like kind of, there's so many conflicting ideas about the virus, what you should do, what you should not do, and like getting the vaccine, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of like turned people into a shell a little bit, like this cabin fever, Yeah, I was living with Adam, and like we were staying at home a lot, and I didn't like it because I'm a very active person, but like, he kind of liked it, which is fine, no problem. But I just feel like as human beings, like, we're creatures that we should be moving and constantly meeting people, and we've kind of lost that, in a way. I hope once this thing is ended, people can kind of see the light, in the sense that like, oh, okay, we've been out for so long, let's try and congregate and be a better community. But who am I to say what's going to happen to that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's tough. But I think you obviously know, just from the outside and just my own experiences of it, it just creates. We've taken away from like what's important to the individual. Like, that's fine. It shouldn't matter that one person likes to be maybe more introverted and one person likes to be more extroverted. That's great. Like, but we need to respect that people are different. We keep grouping people into this like vaccine this, vaccine that, mask this, mask that, and it just creates so much division, and it's not good. And we kind of need just for stuff to just get back to normal.
100%. So Max, you've had like a pretty bad knee injury, right?
Yeah.
You don't have an ACL, is that what it is?
No ACL at the moment.
Okay, how did that happen?
So I ruptured my ACL 3 times now. I ruptured it for the first time non-contact when I was 19, maybe 20. From a training perspective, I don't know what you think, but I think non-contact ruptures of ligaments are indicative of like poor conditioning. Okay. I don't think you should be able to snap your ACL with no one near you unless you're poorly conditioned. So and it was kind of around a time when my body was developing. I was just getting into training. I probably didn't know enough. My training wasn't good enough. I was trying to just probably just bench loads and nothing else. And then I rehabbed that, and I was arrogant. I thought I knew better than others who knew far more than me, and I tried to come back and play after 6 months. Ruptured it straight away again. So there'd be 2 ACL ruptures.
Wow.
In the space of a year, which is my fault completely. But it was kind of the period of time where I was developing as an athlete, and I was really gunning to try and make it as a professional rugby athlete in the UK. And I was, stuff was looking good there, but it was tough to come back from that. So I got it reconstructed again. So to be second recon, this would have been in 2011, probably, and that lasted a while. That was a good one. I finished off at uni. I came back to Hong Kong. I played in Hong Kong for a little bit. Started playing for the 7's side. Everything was looking good. I was kind of like, maybe I wanted to try to make it in the UK. Didn't quite do that. Variety of reasons. One, probably not being quite good enough. Also bad knee. And then I was playing rugby in Hong Kong, and I sort of spun out of a contact and heard like a ripping, and I was like, this feels weird. But I just played on. It was all right. Played on for a bit. For a few weeks, and then decided to get a scan, and I'd ruptured it for a 3rd time.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, I mean, I think like based on sort of reading and stuff, it seems like once you've had a rupture, there's a lot of scar tissue in there. So that initial gunshot sort of like pop, the first one, that doesn't happen again for the re-ruptures, because there's so much scar tissue.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So you can sort of go without knowing. And then sort of the third time I was like, I'm not going to go down the operative route. I'm going to go down the conservative route. And that kind of really catalyzed my journey into strength and conditioning and being so passionate about training and diet and health and things like that, because I was like, I'm going to try and everything I do in my power, I'm going to keep doing what I love, and it's just non-negotiable. I'm going to keep playing rugby. And then from then, luckily, like the best development I'd ever had in terms of an athlete, in terms of a player, came after that third ACL rupture. So now, touch wood, I'm still going 8 years since the third rupture.
Wow.
And it feels good. A few more years left, hopefully, but that's pretty much the history of the knee injury. You've had the same?
Yeah, ACL and meniscus, partial tear of the meniscus, full ACL. But mine was through contact and full tear, so I hurt it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, kids. That's some motivation for you to not give up if you have an injury. I mean, you and I both know what it feels like. It sucks. It really is tough. So, I mean, I went with the mindset like, okay, I still feel it today, but like I wanted to make it as strong, if not stronger.
Yeah.
Like, when I went to that rehab process. So it's quite an interesting thing.
How many years are you now post-op?
So I did mine December 2018. No, was it 18 or 19? I think December 2018 I did it. Yeah. So I tore it then, and then so now it's 2021.
Yeah, it's such a intrusive injury, and it's so common.
It's psychological too, for sure.
Yeah, and I would love to, I'm kind of where I would like to go after rugby is perhaps down the route of training and helping people out with stuff like this. I think just from experience, and I think there's definitely an element of, if you are strong and mobile, from a prehab standpoint, your risk of injury is a lot less. And then post, everyone sort of goes, oh, ACL this, your career's gone. I think that's not right.
Yeah.
So you just keep coming at it. And I feel it's nice to go down the conservative route of not operating, to be honest with you. If people can play without it through rehab and things like that, and you don't have to have surgery, then great. But I think we should try that a little bit more.
Okay.
Just at least have a go at it. If the stability is there. Like, I'm obviously not surgeon, not physio, but from experience, like, it's nice for people to give it a go.
No doubt. Yeah, I think your story will encourage a lot of people to take that route, and also I'm sure you'll help a lot of people, especially during training or after rugby. I think it's a good route to go.
Yeah, I hope so.
So Max, I wanted to talk about your tattoos. Anyone who has tattoos on my show, I got to talk about it.
All right.
It's interesting.
Far away.
Is that your new one? Oh, no, this is one I've seen.
Yeah. So I had no tattoos like about 3 years ago, and just lost the plot a little bit.
You were like me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I got a stupid one when I was in Vegas.
Which one is that?
Yeah.
Nice.
So since then, I was just like, well, I guess, to be honest with you, I'd always wanted them, but I didn't have the nutsack to go for it for actual ones that I thought were cool.
Okay.
But after this one, I was like, I'm in now, so I might as well try hard with the cool ones. Well,
Okay.
at least how I perceive to be cool.
I think it's cool.
Yeah. But these are a few in Hong Kong. Like, everything's kind of got like a bit of a Asian flair to it, I suppose, like Hong Kong, and then like a Japanese style one that I got done in Swedish with a
Swedish artist. Right?
Swedish artist, yeah, who's absolutely fantastic, and we've kind of like blossomed into a cool relationship. I train him and stuff like that online. Yeah, and he's an absolute hero, like supremely talented, like like crazy, but yeah, I feel like you've got these in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, 2017 I think was my first tattoo.
Yeah.
The one here, and I was just surrounded by people, and I was like in the gym. I was like, I fucking want it, and then I just got it, and then ever since then I just kind of went crazy.
Do you feel like, I feel like once you've got a big one that's quite visible, it doesn't matter. For me, it's like black and white. It's like the aesthetic. You have tattoos now,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter if you've got 1 or 12, right?
Yeah.
If you have none, then getting 1 is a big jump.
It's a big jump,
right?
Yeah.
But once you have 1, you look like you have tattoos, especially the bigger ones.
That stand out for
But
sure.
I'm not getting any more.
You're not?
Genuinely, I'm finished.
Oh,
I'm gonna
wow.
finish this whole thing.
I was about to ask, what is your
Yeah.
next tattoo?
I'm gonna get this all coloured in,
Okay.
and then I'm
That's
tapping
it.
out,
Fair.
retiring, put my money elsewhere.
I think
Yeah.
people get in the trap of like, then they're quickly realize they're all fully covered. And they're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm fully covered.
I've been thinking about this. Do you find you get them when at certain times, emotionally or things like that?
Good question. I don't think so. I've always just want to be like, I like this type of artwork. I want to get it. They all have meaning, but it's not such deep meaning. You know, I
Yeah.
don't really, correlate how deep they all have meaning to it, but it's just a story that I've made up that I feel comfortable
Yeah.
with. I don't attach it so much.
If someone says I got it because I think it looks cool, it's 100% fair enough.
Right. Yeah.
I've because now I've thought about it. It's definitely a vice for me. I think it's definitely times of like high emotion, positive and negative.
Okay.
I've got a tattoo.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, and
I've also been very high when I've got one of my tattoos.
Really? Which one?
On my neck. I took I was in Thailand and I was bored. I was like, I want to get this one. I'm Persian.
What was that?
This one here.
Oh yeah.
And I was
That's
like,
a very footballer tattoo. That
yeah,
one.
I know. I just look Bieber, Neymar, Beckham.
Yeah.
That's just like.
That's an illustrious crew, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Trying to inspire.
Yeah.
No, but that was like, I remember I was super high on. I took Tramadol just to cut the pain, but I generally ended up becoming way too high. And I was like, fuck. I didn't feel the pain, and it was okay. But that was one of a kind
Well,
of.
there you go. At least it's got a story behind it, which is good. Yeah. No, I just find it's like I don't know what it is. It's a mechanism. If I'm feeling rubbish, or if I'm
Oh really? Okay.
like happy with something, which actually, like, to be honest with you, is a bit volatile, but live and learn.
Yeah.
So it's all right.
Cool. Hey Max, thanks for having me on. I think that was a really good podcast. I mean, hopefully, you're not going to have any injuries, and I hope that you kind of continue your rugby career, because I think you've got a great mindset for it. I think a lot of people will look up to you, so keep doing what you're doing, and I'm sure we'll see more of you in the future.
Prime, I have one question. Can I ask it?
Sure, go for it.
What do you see for this podcast? Like, why do you do it, and who do you want to listen to it?
So I went with people who I interview on the podcast. I find very interesting. So I feel like they add value to not only the show but to my life, and I feel I can have good conversations because I can learn from it. So for the viewers out there, I feel I want people who are more in that athlete mindset, who are going to look towards people like you or other people who've had experience before, but also say it straight as it is. There's no real bullshit for what you're saying. It's all true. It's all coming from the heart, and I think people can see through that, and I hope they do, because I'm not going to have people on who are just going to talk and say, and for the show, whatever it is, all the stuff that we talk on here is all legitimate, legit. That's why I like to have people like you on.
I like it. It's like long form conversation is so important, and I think it's so key for people to just have a chat.
I could go and interview other people in the rugby community if I wanted to, but I don't really know them that well, and I think you offer a different dynamic that they would. Maybe I'm being a bit biased.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel, because it's I've been on trips with you together. I understand you a little bit better, so it's good. It's nice to hear on that kind of vibe. So
yeah, Prime, mate. Well, I like it. I will keep fighting the good fight.
hopefully we'll do it again further down the line.
100%.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Nice.